in more sorrow than anger. Also speak in more sorrow than anger. And I do observe the issue of gasoline prices is a serious one. And it's going to keep on being a problem as we try to continue growing the American economy and getting our people back to work. I appreciate it that the committee is recognizing these concerns. But I'm again distressed because these bills today do nothing to actually address the issue of gasoline prices. More importantly, they just quite frankly waste the time of the committee. The so-called Gasoline Regulation Act attempts to address gasoline prices by adding another level of federal bureaucracy through a newly created interagency committee that includes 7 cabinet-level members who will study 4 different EPA rules. It is most curious, and I'm surprised that my Republican colleagues who have been so critical how this administration has addressed gasoline prices would turn around and now ask the same members of the administration that they've been criticizing to study these rules and how they affect prices. Additionally, Mr. Chairman, none of these rules have been proposed by the EPA. It seems that if we're going to have them study something, it ought to have been proposed. Is this a completely irrelevant, empty bill that is just for political game and has no policy substance? In fact, this bill would direct cabinet-level officials to drop everything they're doing and examine rules that do not now exist and whose scope has not yet been defined. As my colleagues all know, there is already a process in place for the departments and agencies to review the comments and to also comment on proposed rules during the interagency review process. It is certainly confusing as to why now we wish to again duplicate a process that's already in place. Worse, the second bill, the Strategic Energy Production Act, doesn't guarantee that energy of any kind will actually be produced. The bill simply states that the percent of federal lands available for oil and exploration leases shall increase proportionately to the Strategic Petroleum Reserve released. Perhaps this is desirable. Does it mean we're simply going to be drilling for drilling's sake? Does it mean that we will simply be digging holes for no benefit? Under the current administration, domestic oil production is at its highest point in 8 years, and the Energy Information Agency, which gave me this information, projects continued growth in domestic oil production throughout the next year. The Energy Information Administration says that much of the crude oil trading happens in the over-the-counter markets. There is no requirement to disclose the data on these markets, and estimates that place the range from 470 million barrels traded per day to much more. The world only consumes 88 million barrels per day of liquids. This means that enormous amounts of petroleum products are being put into speculation. And the result of that, this committee has found, and the Oversight Subcommittee in previous Congresses has found, is causing us to see a tremendous amount of speculation which has one impact upon the market, and that is to increase costs to consumers. So if my colleagues on the other side of the aisle really do support an all of the above approach, they have to know that we need to do more than looking in new areas that may or may not have oil and gas production potential and writing bills for press releases. We need to be serious and focused. We ought to take a look at the problem we have with regard to the speculation which is going on. And we need to do something to see to it that that is controlled so that this kind of rascality does not continue to skin American consumers with advanced costs. Let's have a real debate on energy. Let's put forward a comprehensive and conclusive energy bill that balances oil and gas development with renewable and sustainable energies as well. Now, I just happen to be a poor Polish lawyer from Detroit, and I continue to believe that we could get further with a more focused and surgical approach in dealing with this matter. As I've said many times before, I call on my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to work on these matters in a responsible, reasonable, and intelligent way, one which is calculated to bring a measure of success to the country in dealing with an enormous problem. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dingell. Is there further discussion on the Rush Amendment? For what purpose the gentleman from